Everybody, this is Blake in HD. This is my new set. This is my new webcam. I was supposed to make a big reveal of it in my Creepy Bald Guy review that's coming up either Wednesday or Thursday. In fact, when you watch that video, I do make a big deal out of it as if it's the first time you're seeing it, so whoops. But my old camera's memory card just bit the dust out of nowhere, so I'm forced to use this. So I'm a little disappointed about that. So yeah. Whoops, hopefully you like it because you gotta get used to it. I'm gonna be using this camera from now on. Anyway, I'm gonna be talking about 21 Jump Street and The Silent House. Now, 21 Jump Street is based off an old 80s TV show. I've never seen an episode of it. The only thing I really know about it is that it has Johnny Depp in one of his first major breakthrough roles, and he ended up hating it. He pretty much badmouths it whenever I hear him talk about it. So I have no nostalgic ties with it. I have no means of comparing the two. The only thing I've really gathered about it, based on what other people have said, is that the old TV show is much more serious. It's sort of like the Green Hornet. They have a relatively serious TV show, but when they make a big live-action film adaptation, they turn it into a comedy. So I guess certain diehard fans probably won't be happy about that. But I went into the movie with an open mind, but at the same time, I'm really not sure what I feel about Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum. I like Jonah Hill when he has the right material. I think he's one of those guys, he needs to have the right material for him to work in a movie. So stuff like Superbad and Moneyball, they gave him enough to do where his talents really started sticking out, especially with Superbad. But then you'll have something like The Sitter, which even though he did have one great moment in terms of him being dramatic, it wasn't really that funny, and the movie fell flat. And I think he comes across as flat when he doesn't have enough to do. So if he has the right material, he works. If he has the wrong material, he doesn't. Channing Tatum, I think, is sort of the opposite. I think he will eventually improve. He's one of those guys I can see becoming sort of like a Jason Statham, where he has an interesting personality to where even if the movie isn't that good or the role isn't that good, he will stand out at least. But so far, he's yet to really tap into that. He always seems just too stiff and boring to me. Like, he's trying to be subtle and nuanced, but it just feels like he's not acting at all. Maybe he will improve and become like the next Clint Eastwood, but I really doubt it. But when he exerts himself, I think that's when he's at his best. He was the best thing about the Dilemma with Vince Vaughn. And it's just a small role, but he had a lot of fun with it, and he was a lot of fun to watch. He was the only thing good about that movie. But when I see him in stuff like The Eagle, it's just kind of boring. And I don't even bother watching most of his chick flick movies like The Vow and I think it was Step Up or one of those. So I can only base it based on what I've seen. So he can work, but in general he just kind of is flat and boring. But I think he will get better one day. So once again, these guys being in this movie had little effect on me as well, because they could turn out to be really good or they can turn out to be really sucky. Then the reviews came out and they were really positive, and so I had a lot more hopes for this, and I actually thought it was pretty funny. There's a lot of great lines. I love how it pokes fun at itself, but not excessively so. There's one great line or bunch of lines where they kind of take a jab at remakes in general. He's the guy who assigns them to 21 Jump Street is saying how the higher ups have no creativity, so they're just taking ideas from the 80s and reusing them and hoping that nobody notices. Obviously, we're thinking that this is an idea that came from an 80s TV show, and I thought that was great. I love when they're having this big car chase and they're expecting all of these explosions and nothing's happening, and that kind of stuff really cracked me up. And another thing too, and this always helps a comedy, is everybody is entertaining in this movie. I wasn't bored by a single character. Even the love interest I thought was kind of fun. Jonah Hill is pretty much playing Jonah Hill, but the way him and Channing Tatum play off each other, I thought was really effective, and how they kind of have a reverse role when they go undercover was pretty funny, even if it's a little cliched. And I even liked the villain, I think James Franco's brother. He was really funny. I like what they did with him, and I like how they play up the different high school cultures, and just full of one funny scene after another, and I was constantly laughing. The film also tries to be a little deep. I'm not really sure if it succeeded, because one of the big recurring themes is both Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, they weren't able to go to prom for different reasons, and they make a big point that prom is a big thing for everybody, and that kind of ties in at the end when you see in the trailers when Jonah Hill asks if he can go to prom with him. Yeah, the homoeroticism is heavy in this film, and they know it and they play with it. But I honestly had forgotten about the whole prom thing by the end of the movie, so maybe it wasn't prominent enough. I don't know. There's also a few gags that I felt they weren't really sure how they wanted to play out. Like, there's this teacher who's attracted to Channing Tatum, but they just don't really know how they want to go with that. First, when you see her, she's like this real quirky, weird teacher, sort of like the antagonist from Bad Teacher. And then, the main joke becomes, she's sexually attracted to Channing Tatum, and she keeps messing up her words, which I thought was a bit too heavy-handed. I didn't think that was that funny. But then they eventually just make her into a complete psychopath. And throughout the entire movie, I'm trying to think, why is this even there? It does never really ties into the plot. It's just sort of a throwaway gag that they keep referring to. And that didn't work. But for the most part, I thought it was really funny. There's a great cameo at the end that really did throw me off guard. But I was laughing my ass off at it. And that was really the whole movie to me. It was really exciting and really funny. And I enjoyed it a lot, and I believe everybody should give it a look. Like I said, I haven't seen any of the TV show episodes, so whether or not it's a real adaptation, I don't know. The second movie, this is going to be a hard one to review in such a short time. In fact, let me see how much time I have on this. Oh God, I have to hurry up. Silent House isn't a bad movie, but I didn't think it was a good movie either. It was a really uneven movie. Sometimes it really had me. It was really freaking me out. Then other times I was bored. And it wants to be both realistic yet highly conventional and cinematic. The big gimmick is that it's supposed to be done in one continuous take. Based off what I've heard, this is not true, that there were actually about 10-minute intervals. But even then, that's pretty impressive. That has to be really hard to pull off. So even if it isn't one continuous take, I do respect it for minimizing the editing. And there's some interesting cinematography. The lighting is grim, but never too dim, and I did not mean for that to rhyme. The acting is really good, especially by the main actress, Elizabeth Olsen. She really, I think, kept the movie together because she's really natural. You don't feel that she's acting. She just seems like a normal girl who, she has her faults and her strengths, but I felt for her. I did not want to see anything bad happen to her. So that's always a great sign. And when the horror actually starts kicking in, which is pretty quickly, it is, I thought, pretty scary. The weird noises that she'd hear in the background when her father suddenly vanishes. There's a stranger in the house. The trailers kind of make it out as if it's going to be some sort of paranormal movie, but it was more of a home intrusion type movie. And, her trying to hide from him, and the way they use sound, plus the way the cinematography captures certain things, but then kind of obscures other things. That was really effective. And the first few times the movie wanted to scare me, it was really working. But then it felt like they were trying to use the same scare over and over again. There would be how many times do I need to see her creeping around the house, looking around, and then she'd hear footsteps, so then the killer would come and she'd hide, and it would look like he's just going to leave, but then it turns out he knows where she is after all. It seemed like the movie was using that same tactic over and over again. and it made an 80-something minute movie seem really slow paced. But there is at least a continuous sense of unease. I mean, it's not like it becomes flat. It just seemed like it was a short film that was padding itself out to be, a normal sized film. I haven't seen what this is a remake of. I don't even remember what country it's from. But it felt like it probably should have been a 60-minute movie or a short film, but they had to bloat it up to 80-something minutes. And then the ending is so predictable. I knew what they were going for about 5 minutes into the film. At one point, a character says something that's really weird about a character being grown up, and I immediately knew why everything was happening. I knew what they were going to reveal about that, and it took away from the impact. But then, literally like 30 minutes into the movie, I knew everything that was coming. I knew exactly who the killer was going to turn out to be. I knew exactly why they were doing it, and it was like the movie, it wanted to have this big surprise ending, but I saw it coming. And I think even worse, they have it play out in a really cartoonish fashion. At that point, the movie ceases being realistic and starts being very cinematic. And the people who directed this, they also directed Open Water, and I thought that was the same thing. It was sometimes really effective and really, really believable. Then other times it was just too much of a movie. It was too movie-ish and kind of boring. And it was also pretty short. But and that's Silent House to me. It's sometimes really effective, but then other times it's not. I think it works better in parts than it does as a whole. So I think that's really all I have to say. Would I recommend it? Yeah, I'd say it's definitely worth watching on DVD, but maybe not in the theaters, unless it really interests you. But I figure if it really interested you to begin with, you'd have already saw it. So I don't regret seeing it. I thought it was all right. But 21 Jump Street, I definitely recommend for everybody. But Silent House, if you like these types of horror films, I'd say certainly watch it on DVD. But I don't know about theaters. It's up to you. If you want to read my written review, just check the link in my description. I only did a written review for the Silent House. And that's that. Once again, I hope you guys like the new set, my new camera. Hopefully I'll see you either tomorrow or the next day with a new Creepy Bald Guy episode. So see you guys later.